Three people, just 3 years ago, May of 2016, had an idea. And by the end of that year, that idea had generated 1.3 billion followers or clicks in the form of website viewers and more than 1.9 million subscribers. It is all about the power of story and stories told by and for our young people. Please welcome to the stage Paul Beck of Story Booth. Paul.
Thank you, Tyler. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm honored to be here, and I've been charged with kicking this off, and just understand that I am the human version of caffeine, so if you haven't had any coffee, don't worry about it. I'm going to take care of it for you. I have a lot of stuff to cover. I'm going to talk quickly, but I'm going to try to inspire you. First of all, my name is Paul Beck, and admittedly, I'm a geek. I'm a marketer, I've been doing it for 25 years, a chief marketing officer. Digital is my space. The three areas that I really focus on are humans and human nature, how humans behave with technology, and ultimately with content. So you can see how humans use technology to connect with content. I've been doing that for years. I've worked for many agencies, one of which was my favorite. If you don't mind, I'm going to be walking around here to see you all. I worked for Ogilvy, and during that time, I got to work on some amazing campaigns I'm very proud of, all with a narrative bent to them. Many of you might be familiar with the Dove campaign for Real Beauty, or the American Express My Life, My Card, IBM Smarter Planet, or last is the Cisco Human Network. And did a lot of work there, did a lot of technical work there, led digital for them. And then in about 2005, I met two individuals, a couple, Marcy and Josh Sinell. They were there at Ogilvy helping me to understand for my clients what it is that they were really interested in, the words they were using in forums, where a lot of people tend to spend time. Right now, we use all that stuff within social media, right? But before it, back then, there wasn't an Instagram, and actually back then, Facebook was just beginning. So Marcy and Josh are skilled and early stage people in the AOL days of forums, helping people to manage forums, helping people to understand how communities could exist safely. And you've seen it all now, how many times you've gone onto a forum and some troll comes in and starts saying negative things. Where can you create a safe space for all this to happen? One of the things as we got to know each other was we realized that we had one thing in common, that is a lot of experience with children. And collectively, we worked on a lot of great brands. And we also happen to have a couple of kids. I got 3, they got 2, all tweens and teens. And we thought, wouldn't it be great if we could take all this experience that we have, all the brands we've worked on, all the skills we have, create a business that was powerful, and in doing so, leave the world in a better place. Skip ahead to 2008. Marcy and Josh and I had gone through a bunch of different thoughts and ideas, couldn't quite get something exactly where we thought it would be, and I had the unique opportunity to meet this man. His name is Chris Meledandri. You may know him because he's the creator of the Minions. He's the founder, CEO of Illumination Entertainment. And he said something that changed my life, and I had the opportunity to work with him. He said, an audience connects to a character when they can see themselves as someone they know in the performance. What we learn about storytelling is it's all about the story. The story is actually secondary to the person who's telling it. Let me use his words to explain it a little bit better than I can.
For us, the heart of what determines our commitment to a movie is really the story of the characters. And so our core focus at Illumination is creating characters that are appealing, characters that are flawed, and characters that are relatable, which is maybe the most important thing. Characters who are going through different experiences, where as an audience member, you can project yourself into that character's perspective.
I mean, think about how many times you've heard an incredibly good joke destroyed by a person who couldn't tell it, or how many times you've heard a mediocre joke kill because the person was skilled in telling it. It's relating to the person who's telling the story is as important as the story. And what we've seen through marketing and businesses is, quite frankly, everybody wants to tell their story. They have the wrong people telling it. So that became a really important part to add to my sort of scientific thought process, was who's going to be telling a story. The punchline to this is Despicable Me became the highest grossing animated movie franchise in movie history with $3.7 billion in revenue. And I had a great time. And shift ahead to 2015, Marcy and Josh gave me a call. They said, we have it. I'm like, what do you have? Let's get on the phone. Well, they had an observation. The observation was that the world is false within social media. You all can see that. How many times have you been to a restaurant, and you're all going to smile now when I say this, and you see people incessantly taking pictures of their food? Why? It's for the perfect cup of coffee. This beautiful cup of coffee in the middle here is just any normal cup of coffee with a funny thing in the front of it, but it looks gorgeous. So what have we done? People say, I'm so blessed. They've created this false world that no one else can live up to. How much fun are these people having drinking that coffee? Look how beautiful their bodies look. Look how wonderful their places are. People can never live up to it. What is that doing to our children? Our children now are thinking that they are less than everything else, right? So they're completely disenfranchised. And how is this helping? Marcy then said, well, where can this true be shared? The real things that happen. Not everything is pretty. How can we do that? So this is what they showed me.
Oh my god, he totally jumped off the cliff and had to swim all the way ashore because the dog chased us all the way to the end.
Simple idea. We will get kids to record in their mobile phones, everybody's got one, their story, their voices, literally their voices. They send them to us, we listen to them, we select stories, we animate them. We try to cut it down to about a 3-minute story. We do hand-drawn animation, which I'll show you, as you saw, so it kind of maps to the imperfection of how these stories are being told. We engage in comments. Why? Because Marcy and Josh built their entire careers around where comments happen and conversations happen. Next, we're going to celebrate those storytellers ultimately. And the last part of it is we're going to use science in the distribution, which I'm going to talk about. And this is all about artificial intelligence and algorithms. So Story Booth was launched in March of 2016. And what you're seeing on the screen here on the left is the YouTube channel. On the right is the website. To the right of that is the mobile app, and below that is an Instagram page. So this is what we call our digital platform. We have a couple of other things as well, but this is the primary area where all this stuff lives. Our goal here was to try to be very simple with what we're doing. Number one, meet people where they are, and number two, leave them better off than where they were. Why? Because the reality is kids want to talk about things that they're experiencing. Embarrassing topics like embarrassing period stories, which, by the way, we have 10,000 of those submitted to us, believe it or not. Being bullied, being abused, being betrayed by friends, having teachers that lie about them. These are all real topics of real stories. I just screen captured this actually this morning. And then something amazing happened. It took off. And I'm not going to go into these until in a couple of slides, but these are hundreds of millions of views. And this is actually per month, and subscribers per month. So I'll go into this in a bit. What we ended up with was the world's largest database of young people speaking in natural language about the things they are facing. They needed to come somewhere and tell their story where they felt it was safe, that they wouldn't be ridiculed, and that they could find other people who had a similar experience. Somebody else had been abused. Somebody else had been bullied. Somebody else was trying to be an athlete just because everybody else was, but didn't want one. Let's look at one of the stories that's in the database so you can get a full idea. Now, this story is a topic that is very common now. In fact, the CEO of Amazon is involved in this particular topic, so you can guess what it's about. And this is one of the things that particularly middle schoolers and high schoolers face all the time. This is someone's personal experience. It's her voice. It's unfiltered, and we just animated over top of it.
I liked this one guy. We were super close. We started talking like late at night and stuff. And he would ask me how my day was and what I did. He would ask me how I'm feeling and stuff like that. he'd be super nice. One day he asked me for nudes and I said no, but he kept begging me and I was like, maybe. I was trying to talk myself out of it, but then I was feeling like I don't know what to do. And we had this thing, and it was Clay poll, the loser has to send nudes. And I said, how about something other than nudes? He said, all right, booty pics. And I said, fine. So we played and I lost. So I had to send him some pictures. And he liked them. He was like, ooh, sexy, hot, and stuff. Later then, he asked me for nudes again. I said no, but I was on the phone with my friend. She was like, what are you gonna do? And he sent me a picture. And she was like, wait, no he didn't. And I said, yeah. And I showed my friend and I was like, I don't know what to do. He's asking me for pictures still. And I was like, fine. So I sent him a picture of me in my bra. And then he was like, take the bra off. So I did, and I put my hands over my boobs. And he said, send it without your hands. And I put emojis. And then he was like, take the emojis off. And I was like, fine. I did. And he was like, ooh la la, I'll grab your butt and stuff at school if you keep sending them to me. And I was like, you know what? I want to go to bed. Good night. A month later, my mom found out that he sent me that because my friends were talking about it in the car, and she heard it. So then we had to talk about it with my therapist. She was like, did you send him it back? And I was like, no, because I kept lying because I was like, I don't want to. But then my mom threatened to take it up with the school district and like tell on him and say, this is child pornography. You better look up his picture and say like, oh, he did send it and like he should get punished for it. And I was like, Mom, you can't do that. And she was like, why did you send it back? And I was like, if I did, would you be mad? And she said, no. And I started crying and I poured down tears. And I told her the truth that I did. And she just hugged me. And she said, look, it's going to be all right. But you know you can't do that again. And I got grounded for a long time. And I never did anything like that again. Because the feeling of thinking that someone might find out and ruin your life sucks.
So that video, as of this morning, has 21.7 million views. And more importantly, 37,500 comments. So they're talking about this in a safe place. Nobody makes fun of her, how she looks. She's a cartoon. Who's going to make fun of a cartoon? So her story is real. She's sharing it, and then other kids are learning from it. So the question is, scale is an issue. 21 million I can't even comprehend, right? So let me put things in context. Anybody here a Wolverine? Go blue. Proud father. Daughter graduated early this year, and you're looking at the Wolverine Stadium, which holds 107,000 people. This is what 107,000 people looks like. It would take 2 stadiums to fill the number of stories we've received. So 215,000 kids so far have taken the time to tell us a story. You can imagine what's in those stories. It's absolutely astounding. So here's the punchline. We've produced 150 over 3-year period stories. We've reached 1.3 billion views on those stories. We have 3.8 million subscribers, over 30 million comments, and I'll explain how important that is in a bit. And we have this compounded growth rate, which are those 2 tracks I showed you guys earlier. That's all based on compounding, somewhere between a 4 and a 7% growth rate week over week. In 2019, this year, we should be getting to 2.2 billion views, which is, my calculations are right, 6 million subscribers, and 60% of our views should be outside the US. And again, this is what that compounded growth rate looks like. So this is, what's interesting is every single one of our views averages 8.5 million views. This is Tuesday's video from last week. It'll have 3 million views by the time I'm probably done with this. So this is a simple story from someone in Canada who was homeless with her dad and what her life was like. I mean, kids, how do you be homeless? This is a kid talking about that. So kids learn to have compassion and empathy. And the comments below are absolutely beautiful. So again, not a single one of our videos is viral. That's what everybody hears about. I'm not interested in viral, because how do you follow up a viral video? It's like seeing an amazing artist, music artist, hit a huge album, and then the follow-up is a flop. I would rather just be consistent and persistent. If you look at the numbers, the top video we just watched is 21 million views, then it's 18, then it's 16, then it's 15, then it's 14. This goes all the way through, and none of our videos are under 2 million views, again, including the one from this past Tuesday. And you're probably going to ask, so how much did you spend on advertising to get all this stuff going? We didn't spend a single dollar on advertising. This is all organic, all science, all understanding your audience, who the characters are, telling the stories, relating to it, putting the science out there. So let's take a quick look under the hood. There we go. What we do every day is we collect the stories into the database through the app. We listen and we categorize them as to what they're all about. We select which stories we want to produce on a whole series of criteria. Then we edit them, we animate them, we publish them, we optimize, and we analyze. And then we engage. What the heck does this word engage mean? Well, what we do is in each video, we have the opportunity to ask a question that's contextually relevant. As an example, this particular one, this story, is about a boy from England whose stepfather used to beat him, and self-esteem went so low that he would get bullied at school. So he was literally getting beat up at school and at home. Sad story, but he turned it around, and his life became wonderful. So in the top there, if you look at the left-hand side on the top, it asks the question, is it ever okay for a parent to hit their child? Look to the number on the right. We have 795,000 responses to that question. And how you get the answers are at the bottom. This is how it works. So in video, we can ask questions. We can engage. They want to be heard. They want a voice. The second thing we do is in the community, we ask questions. Have you ever been bullied, and to what degree? And then we publish and we share it back. The next thing we do is an Instagram, which is another platform that you guys are quite familiar with. We tease. We send up a storyboard. Take a guess what the story's about. We post it, and then what you see in the colored boxes are their wisdom. These are statements that kids made that we're sharing with the world, that are wise, that the world should hear about. These are their voices being heard. I won't go into this in detail, it's an eye chart, but suffice to say, we had to create a pretty rigid system to be able to accomplish this. And I won't go through our game day because it's a lot of stuff to review, but we do all these things which Disney doesn't do, Nickelodeon doesn't do, nobody else does when we launch. So what have we learned? And I'm going to read these if you don't mind. Our business could not exist without this art and science framework we spoke about. Listening to the stories is really hard because most of the stories are heart-wrenching. They're kids wanting to talk about their pain of some sort, embarrassment, pain, distrust, disloyalty, all these things that they're facing every day. They just want to know that they're not alone. Be mindful when connecting with an audience. Trust the audience. Wisdom exists so deeply in this young audience, people just overlook it. They want to tell the story. Kids want to be heard. They're hungry for an outlet, and the level of responsibility of a media company is astounding. We owe it to these kids to protect them, which is what we do through COPA regulations and everything else. And last but not least is, where are we going? Well, first and foremost, since we blew up as we did, we have to continue to scale our production because we have 215,000 stories and only 150 videos. We got to produce more, for God's sakes. We got to scale globally, which includes in-language, new mediums, including podcasts we're going to skip to, Instagram, brand and organizational sponsorships and partnerships so we can expand, celebrity collaborations, which we've already started with. We have a bunch teed up right now. We're going to build out our research platform, continue to evolve artificial intelligence and our insights platform, which is how we actually find all the story ideas. And the last is investment for expansion, because what we have is a problem. We got 215,000 stories, 1.3 billion views, and 3.6 million of an audience who want more. So we've got to give them more. Thank you very much.